unstoppable power. Luffy's unwavering determination and extraordinary ability to survive have garnered the admiration of the strongest creature of the world. In Chapter 1042, when Kaido and Luffy was going to hit each other, their battle was interrupted by CP0 Agent. CP0 Agent used Iron Body technique, which makes Luffy paralyzed and completely defenseless against Kaido's Thunder Bagua attack. Luffy taking Kaido's Thunder Bagua directly upon himself. Kaido's Thunder Bagua was so much powerful that it makes Luffy lying motionless on the ground. Just off Onigashima, Momonosuke noticed that he could no longer hear Luffy's voice. There, a moment of silence declared Kaido, the King of Beasts, as the official winner of the battle. However, this interruption enraged the mighty Yonko. Kaido glared at the CP0 Agent and asked if he's prepared for what's going to happen next. There is only one fate for those that interferes Kaido's battle. CP0 Agent accepted his fate. Kaido unleashed another Thunder Bagua attack with enough force to bring down the roof and deliver a deadly blow to the agent. Kaido went down from rooftop and started rampaging. Going back on the rooftop, Luffy's lifeless body begins heartbeat echoes out, as Zenesha called out to Momonosuke, telling him that he can hear the drum of liberation for the first time in 800 years. Zenesha called out that Joy Boy has returned. On the rooftop, Luffy was lying on ground smiling, and it became apparent that he was undergoing a profound transformation. Despite having seemingly lost to Kaido, Luffy was still standing, filled with an inexplicable joy and laughter that echoed throughout Onigashima. His heartbeat resonated across the entire island, leaving everyone astonished that Luffy is alive. Even Sanji, who had been unconscious, was awakened by the sound of Luffy's heartbeat. With his incredible new transformation, Luffy is prepared for a thrilling rematch against the mighty Kaido. This time they are battling for the final time for their honor, and without any regret, and among them one will emerge victorious. Before we land of Mariewa, 5 elder discussing about Luffy and his devil fruit. For 800 years the world government is trying to get a hand on Gum Gum fruit, but they have failed every time. It's almost like the devil fruit himself trying to escape from their hand. They also reveal that the Gamu Gamu no Mai is a mythical Zoan type and has a name of God. The real name of the Gamu Gamu no Mai is human. Human fruit model sun god Nika. Nika fruit gives its user a rubbery body, and allows its user to fight in whatever way they please. And he even brings smile to the face of people. Sun god Nika is known as the warrior of liberation. Once the devil fruit is awakened, its user receives greater strength and freedom. In all the world there is no power more ridiculous than this. We can see a silver bed of Luffy appears in front of the moon. Luffy dances with joy and notices that his heartbeats sound funny. Now he can do everything he wants to do. Luffy states this is the pinnacle of what he can do, Gear 5. Luffy then releases a massive burst of Conqueror's Haki, which knocks out Kaido's subordinates down below the rooftop. Suddenly, a giant hand erupts out of nowhere from ceiling and grabs the dragon-formed Kaido. He pulled the massive Kaido out through the ceiling to the rooftop. Luffy then wrapped Kaido with his muscle arm, and he spined Kaido to the left and right and then bumped Kaido to the ground with great pressure. As Kaido recovers, he thanks Luffy for surviving. Then Kaido fired a massive blast breath. Luffy burst into hearty laughter and began rolling on the ground, and he even doesn't notice Kaido's attack. But later, Luffy noticed, and just like a vintage cartoon character, his eyes popped out, and his jaw dropped in astonishment. Luffy jumped into the air by grabbing the ground and pulls it up, turning into a rubber and using it as shield. Luffy sent the attacks back towards Kaido, giving him a taste of his own medicine. Luffy, once again, burst into uncontrollable laughter. Kaido offered his apologies to Luffy for the interference of the CP0 agent in their fight, expressing that he didn't intend to win that way. Luffy tells him not to worry about it and let's finish our duel. Kaido says, I was certain that you were dead. Luffy, while laughing, agrees. Kaido says, now you can transfer your rubber powers to the other things. So, I can interpret this as the awakening of your Paramecia power. Kaido even notices that Luffy's power aren't working like a Paramecia type devil fruit. Your new transformation is the trademark of Zoan type. Before Luffy could react, Kaido swiftly rushed forward, seizing him in his jaws and tried to crush Luffy. Luffy attempted to break free from Kaido's jaws but couldn't. Instead of giving up, Luffy decided to go with the flow and entered into Kaido's body, and started bouncing, punching and kicking inside his body and making Kaido's body look like rubber. Luffy uses his Gamu balloon form, causing Kaido's body to inflate like a balloon. The sudden transformation made Kaido cry out in pain as he felt the pressure building up inside him. Seeing this, Yamato and Momonosuke are shocked by the strange things happening to Kaido's body. Kaido himself is surprised that his body is not made of rubber. Then what the heck is happening to his body? Luffy sees two light which are Kaido's eyes. Out of nowhere, Luffy's hands emerges out of Kaido's eyes and grabs his nose. Luffy shouts Gamu Gamu no escape rocket and pushes himself out of Kaido's mouth with a smile. Luffy then releases all the air from his body, which pushes Luffy high into the sky and disappears into the storm cloud. Kaido, Momonosuke and Yamato are confused after seeing this. Luffy's voice roars from heaven, Gamu Gamu no giant. A gigantic version of Luffy appears nowhere from heaven and steps on Kaido's face. But Kaido reacts quickly and manages to bite Luffy. Luffy shouts in pain, but Luffy somehow manages and then grabs Kaido by his horns and midsection of his body and used him as jump rope. Kaido launches another massive blast breath straight towards Luffy's face. Yamato grew concerned witnessing Luffy directly facing Kaido's blast breath. Luffy was falling from the sky and his full body was burned after taking that blast breath. Luffy, while falling, says that does it and started running across the sky with full speed, and he jumps back to top of the roof, leaving trail of fire like classic cartoon style. Luffy with full speed was nearing Kaido, who is transformed back into his hybrid form. Before Luffy could do anything, Kaido acted first and hit Luffy like baseball. Luffy's head passed through the roof, terrifying everyone below. Kaido compares Luffy's new power to a comic strip. Luffy pulls himself out of the room and he collapses due to exhaustion. Kaido adds that Luffy reached his limit of a Gear 5, and you cannot defeat me. Luffy tried to prove Kaido wrong, but Luffy appeared utterly depleted, as if he had reached the absolute limit of his energy, leaving him completely drained and incapacitated. Luffy says, I am all tuckered out. Kaido asks Luffy, who are you? Due to continuous battle, Kaido also feel weak now. Luffy realizes that Gear 5 draining too much of his energy. Kaido assures Luffy that his tale will be told if he dies. However, Luffy rejects the offer, emphasizing, after death, all that remains are bones. Momonosuke notices about Luffy's new form and remarks that Luffy's voice is close to dying out. But our hero refuses to let things end like this. Luffy tries to regain his Gear 5 form. He begins to recite the names of the people he's fighting for: Momonosuke, Tama, Kindman, and even Pedro. While saying the names, he starts to reactive Gear 5 full form. Kaido laughs and warns Luffy to be careful or he'll die. Luffy responds, you actually think I'm afraid of that? Luffy commands his heart to keep beating. Luffy is now back in his strongest form and ready for fight. Suddenly Kaido charges in by saying, very well then. Yamato shout out loud to warn Luffy, but Kaido Kanabo still connects. But instead of getting harmed, Luffy's face deformed, causing it to wrap around the weapon. Luffy tries to dodge Kaido's attacks, but Kaido catches to Luffy and slams Luffy into the floor. Once more, Luffy transformed the floor into rubber, making him spring off the ground like a bouncy ball landing on a nearby cliff. Luffy count down to 0 and launches himself at Kaido with high speed. Luffy swing his arms in a rotating fashion, launching a barrage of punches at Kaido. As Luffy draws nearer, Kaido wonders to himself, what does all of this mean? He turned all white. He uses the color of armament in the Supreme King and can transfer his power to other things. I never seen all this power in all of his decades. As Kaido readies himself to confront Luffy's impending attack, he boldly proclaims that there is no one in the world capable of defeating him. With incredible force, Luffy launches a direct punch at Kaido, striking him square in the face. The impact is so powerful that Luffy's fist stretches out through the back of Kaido's head. Yamato and Momonosuke are shocked seeing this. Kaido is knocked flat on his back. With a smile, Luffy asks Kaido, isn't this fun? Kaido was lying on the ground. Luffy asks him what he should call his last attack, Gum Gum, or what, while bouncing off the ground. Kaido on his knee asks Luffy, who are you? Zanesha appears. He still hears the beat of Luffy's heart and is overjoyed at the return of Joy Boy. Zanesha believes fate is at work and can't help but put his faith in you. Luffy with full confidence declares he is Monkey D. Luffy, the man who will surpass him, and become the king of the pirates. In response, Kaido expresses a sense of relief, pleased that Luffy hasn't lost his fighting spirit. He goes on to explain that awakenings occur when a user's mind and body reach a point where they can fully harness the true potential of their fruit. He acknowledges that Luffy undeniably possesses an extraordinarily absurd and formidable power. Engaging in battle with Luffy has resulted in Kaido losing a great deal of what he had labored hard to build over the years. His followers and his castle all have been destroyed by his war with the Straw Hats and his alliance. In response, Luffy shouts defiantly, declaring, but there's still something I've got to take back from you. With these resolute words, the two fighters engage in an intense exchange, launching a relentless barrage of attacks at each other. Suddenly, Kaido initiates a fierce assault, unleashing a series of punches directly at Luffy with his formidable Dragon Swarm technique. The devastating blows connect with Luffy, causing his body to stretch. Luffy encounters with his own Gatling attacks, and which causes Kaido's body to distort. After their exchange of blows, they are thrown apart. Kaido reminds Luffy that their battle has set Onigashima ablaze, and all of Luffy's allies are trapped there, facing a fiery death. Despite the situation, Luffy remains unfazed, trusting his allies to handle themselves. He makes it clear to Kaido that his sole focus is to defeat him. With a smile, Kaido unleashes a barrage of wind attacks at Luffy, which Luffy skillfully dodges. Even though Kaido is still alive and his own clouds keep Onigashima afloat, once Luffy defeats him, they will disappear. As battle proceeds, Yamato warns Momonosuke that it's up to him to make flame clouds soon, to keep Onigashima afloat. Otherwise it will crash into the ground and killing everyone. In the next panel, we see Luffy in the high air holding a lightning in his hand. A smile forms on Kaido's face as he says Onigashima is going to fall. Kaido, while laughing, says, "So you grabbed the lighting." Luffy shouted, "Gum gum lighting," as he threw lighting towards Kaido. But Kaido sees this coming and dashes out of the way as the bolt explodes across the ground. Kaido said, "Play all the games you want." Kaido swung his kanabo and threw a strong slash towards Luffy. But Luffy grabbed the lighting and dodged the attack. Luffy twirling around the bolt and shot himself towards Kaido. Kaido tells him that ability alone cannot conquer the world, as Luffy began to inflate his leg, preparing for a powerful kick. But before he could land his attack on Kaido, the mighty Yonko swiftly retaliated by delivering a devastating strike directly to Luffy's head. Kaido explains that the world does not yield to the desires of Devil Fruit users. Gall D. Roger didn't have any Devil Fruit powers, but with his sheer will he became king of the pirate. When Luffy was falling, Kaido jumps in the air and launches another attack at Luffy, which smashes Luffy to ground and which bounces him back up to Kaido. As he prepares for a third swing, Kaido shouts that Haki is the only thing that matters, and it can transcend all. In a desperate attempt to protect himself, Luffy coated his arms in armament Haki and tries to block Kaido attacks. But Kaido still breaks through Luffy's solid defense and severely injures him. Despite the damage he just took, Luffy was able to grip Kaido by his chest and tried to take him into the sky with him. Kaido tries to break Luffy's grips on him, but Luffy refuses to let go. Kaido transformed into a dragon form and fired a multiple wind slash. Kaido pointed out that Luffy still remained vulnerable to cutting attacks. The ferocity of Kaido's multiple wind slashes dealt a devastating blow to Luffy, leaving him badly battered and wounded. After all this hits, Luffy still doesn't lose his grip on Kaido. Kaido orders Luffy to come down and shoots a massive fire blast at Luffy. Due to this, Luffy's whole body was burnt. From the cloud, Momonosuke hears Luffy shout his name. Both Momonosuke and Yamato look up to see Luffy's gigantic hand coated with Haki emerges from the storm cloud aimed directly straight at Kaido. Luffy told Momonosuke that he's gonna put an end to all this, but Onigashima is in his way. Yamato realizes that Luffy is planning on punching straight through the island. Momonosuke cries out, "Luffy, no." But Luffy just smiles and says, "Do it, Momo, I have believe in you." Luffy shouts again at Momo to move Onigashima out of his way. Momonosuke tells Luffy that he isn't able to move the island, but this time Luffy isn't listening. With no other option, Momonosuke slams his head into the island, desperately tries to move it. Kaido is ready to take Luffy's punch, but he asks Luffy that, "Did you know, Straw Hat, what happened 20 years ago? Oden, the hero of this country, was burned to death." Kaido breathes out scorching flames that engulf his entire body into flame. Kaido tells Luffy that Wano has been a lawless place, and you are the hero they've been waiting for 20 years. Kaido's flame coating is enough to make Luffy let go off him. Kaido tells Luffy that he is not going anywhere. Your giant fist won't even touch him. Your fist will melt into nothing. To prove his point, Kaido makes a contact with Skull Dome and one of its horns melted. Luffy brings his fist down and remembers his Haki training with Old Man Hyogoro. He taught him how to damage your enemy without touching. Luffy promises Kaido that he will smash all the way down to the bottom of hell. both Kaido in the Flame Dragon form and the new Joy Boy with new attack named Bajrang Gun clashes, creating a giant shockwave. The two struggles against one another with everything they have, desperate to win. Luffy Alliance continues to cheer him up, and they even recall all the tragedy they have suffered for 20 years by the hands of Kaido and Orochi. While the two powerhouses clashes, Kaido praises Luffy for making this far, but Kaido reminds him that Luffy, you can't change the world. During his fight with Luffy, Kaido remembers moments from his life when he was 10. He was known as the ultimate soldier in his homeland. After a year, king of his home sold him to the world government. In exchange, this country will receive the right to attend the next reverie. Kaido was not happy with this. Kaido easily escaped the world government and only returned to custody when is hungry. After a year, Kaido escaped from the hand of world government. Kaido joined the Rock's crew. After the defeat of Rock's pirates, Kaido created his own crew, called it the Beast Pirates. Kaido talked with King about the Joy Boy. Kaido claims that he knows who Joy Boy is. Back to present, the last remaining CP0 agent flees away from Onigashima. Yamato yells at Momonosuke to create a flame cloud. Momonosuke tries his best to command his own flame cloud to appear, but nothing happens. Other notices that flame cloud is disappearing and Onigashima is falling. This indicates that Kaido is putting all his power against Luffy. The two of them are pushing against one another with all their strength. Kaido asks Luffy what kind of world Luffy will create. Luffy answers that I will make a world where my friends can eat as much as they want. While saying, Luffy breaks through Kaido's flames, hitting him with his strongest punch. Kaido experiences the full force of Luffy Bajrang Gun attack, which causes Kaido to fall unconscious and fall towards the ground at great speed. While falling into the ground, Kaido remembers his last conversation with King about Kaido. Kaido believes that the Joy Boy would be the man that defeats him in the future. With a smile, King replies him that if that's the case, then they'll never see Joy Boy. Kaido continues to smash through the ground, forming a hole of same length that Law created. Kaido crashes into the magma pool. Meanwhile, Momonosuke successfully created his own cloud flames, which helped Momo to land Onigashima in the flower capital. Although Momonosuke was exhausted, he's relieved that he was able to save everyone. Luffy falls from the sky as he was exhausted with the fight against an formidable Yonko. Yamato rushes to catch Luffy. He lands safely within Yamato's arms. Yamato was happy seeing Momonosuke and Luffy safe. She shouted in joy that you both are incredible. Luffy's alliance realizes that Luffy has defeated the strongest creature of the world. Celebration sparks all over with the defeat of Kaido. Wano is now free. Yamato and others feel an earthquake. This earthquake comes from deep within the magma pool, where two Yonko fall, but this caused a volcanic eruption. The undersea volcanic explosion sends both Kaido and Big Mom to unknown places. Cat Viper, who was watching the fight of Luffy and Kaido. Cat Viper informs others that Luffy has defeated the Kaido. Now the celebration has begun throughout Wano. Thank you all for staying till the end. I kindly request your support to achieve my goal of reaching 1,000 subscribers this year. Please show your love and encouragement by hitting that red subscribe button.